I never told anyone what my mother whispered to me the morning of my college graduation. Not until the family meeting 4 years later when everything finally collapsed. My name is Naomi Hale. I am 32 years old and I grew up in a small house in Portland, Maine with my grandmother, Iris, after my parents sent me away at age 7. I thought I understood why. I thought I was difficult. I thought I was too much. I spent 25 years believing that my family in Boston was better without me, that my absence was a gift I gave them, that my grandmother's love was enough to fill the space they left. I was wrong about all of it. The graduation was the proof. They called it a worthless ceremony. They were too busy with my sister's recital to attend. They sent a card with a $20 bill and a note saying, "Perhaps next time you'll achieve something worth celebrating." I kept that card. I framed it. I looked at it every morning for 4 years while I built something they would eventually want to destroy. Before I tell you what happened at that meeting, leave a comment that says enough, if you believe family should earn the right to call themselves family. There is a particular kind of silence in a childhood bedroom that never leaves your bones. It is not emptiness. It is waiting. The walls hold breath. The floorboards remember footsteps that stop too soon. I have spent 25 years learning to hear the difference between a house that is simply quiet and one that is holding secrets. The sounds are not the same. My grandmother, Iris, was a librarian. She smelled like paper and peppermint. She read to me every night until I could read to myself. She made me pancakes shaped like animals. She attended every school event, every recital, every ceremony that my parents missed. She never spoke against them. She never needed to. Her presence was the argument. Her consistency was the contrast. I asked about my parents once, when I was 12. "They love you in their way," she said. "Their way is small. Your way will be bigger." I did not understand then. I understood later. Their way was conditional, performance-based. My sister, Camille, fit their way. She was beautiful, talented, agreeable. She played piano. She won competitions. She needed audiences. I needed work. I needed proof. I needed to build something no one could take away. Iris was a good grandmother. I want to say that plainly because everything that follows gets complicated. She was not perfect. She was stubborn. She believed in rules and schedules, in the moral superiority of finishing what you start. But she loved me without measurement, without comparison, without the sense that I was being evaluated against some standard I had not agreed to. She paid for my tutoring. She helped with my college applications. She co-signed loans when scholarships were not enough. She sat in the front row at my high school graduation, crying, while my parents sent a text saying they were unfortunately detained. I looked at her face. I looked at the empty seats where my parents should have been. I made a decision. I would build a life that did not need them. I would succeed without their approval. I would become so complete that their absence would be their loss, not mine. I started college in 2015. University of Maine. Data science and healthcare systems. I worked weekends. I studied nights. I graduated top of my program in 2019. The invitation went out 3 months early. My parents called the morning of. My mother said the words I still hear. A worthless ceremony for a worthless degree. We're attending Camille's recital. Perhaps next time you'll achieve something worth celebrating. I walked across that stage anyway. Iris stood in the audience, crying, clapping. She was 73 years old. She had driven 4 hours. She had brought flowers. She had made a sign that said, "Naomi, my heart." I collected my diploma. I smiled for photographs. I went to dinner with Iris and 2 friends. I did not cry until I was alone in my apartment that night. Then I cried for 3 hours. Not because they were absent. Because they had chosen to be absent. Because they had chosen Camille's recital over my graduation. Because they had called it worthless. Because the card with the $20 bill and the note was not forgetfulness. It was deliberate. It was designed to diminish. I taped the card to my bathroom mirror. I looked at it every morning. I said the words aloud. Worthless ceremony. Worthless degree. Perhaps next time. I used them as fuel. As motivation. as the foundation of something I did not yet understand. I applied for jobs. I was rejected by 17 companies. I kept applying. I was hired by a small analytics firm in Boston. The irony was not lost on me. I was in their city. They did not know. They did not care. I was invisible to them. I preferred it that way. The firm was called Clearview Analytics. 12 employees. I was the 13th. I started as a junior data analyst. I ended as director of product development. It took 3 years. I built a platform that detected fraudulent billing patterns in hospital systems. Insurers loved it. Compliance firms wanted it. Hospitals that had ignored my emails suddenly wanted meetings. I worked 16-hour days. I slept in the office. I forgot to eat. Iris called me every Sunday. She worried. She sent food. She visited monthly. She was proud. She was also afraid. You're building something, she said. But don't forget to live in it. I did not listen. I was 26. I was proving something. To my parents. To myself. To the mirror with the card. In 2022, a larger firm approached me. Acquisition talks. The number was absurd. I laughed when my attorney first said it. Then I negotiated. Then I signed. The sale completed in March 2023. I was 29 years old. I had more money than my parents had ever touched. I had more freedom than I knew how to use. I had a problem I did not anticipate. My family suddenly had time for me. The first contact came from my mother. A phone call. Not a text. Her voice was softer than I remembered. Almost tender. Naomi, sweetheart, we need to talk. Sweetheart. She had never called me sweetheart. There's a family meeting tomorrow. At the house in Boston. We have important matters to discuss. I said no. I said it was too late. I said I had plans. She persisted. She mentioned Iris. She mentioned legacy. She mentioned healing. I hung up. 10 minutes later, my father texted. Formal. Neutral. We want to discuss honoring your grandmother's memory. I read this 3 times. They wanted to honor Iris. The woman they had excluded from their lives. The woman who had raised me. The woman who had attended every ceremony they missed. I was suspicious. I was also curious. I called my attorney. Dana Vitlak. She specialized in family disputes, in fraud, in protecting clients from relatives who suddenly became interested. Go, she said. But document everything. Record if legal. Take notes. Assume nothing is what it seems. I prepared. I was not the girl they sent away. I was a woman who had built and sold a company. I was ready. I drove to Boston. The house was larger than I remembered. More polished. New landscaping, new stonework, fresh paint. The kind of place that whispered stability, while hiding instability. My mother greeted me like we were close. She hugged me. I did not hug back. My father shook my hand like I was a donor. He hoped not to lose. Camille hugged me with awkward caution. She was 28 now. Still beautiful. Still performing. Still the center of every photograph. Lunch was on the terrace. Elegant. Curated. As if we were having a civilized reunion instead of a negotiation staged by people who had never spent an honest day with me. Then my father opened a leather folder. Inside was a proposal. The Hale Legacy Foundation. To honor Iris, he said. Supporting overlooked students from fractured homes. The language was perfect. Opportunity. Dignity. Educational access. Resilience. Iris would have loved the mission. That was the trap. I read the document. Camille was listed as executive director. My mother had a consulting stipend. 2 vendors were friends of the family. The launch budget was $800,000. The requested contribution from me, $300,000. I smiled. I nodded. I said I would review everything carefully. Inside I was calculating. This was not about Iris. This was about money. My money. The money they had ignored while I was earning it. The money they suddenly needed. I drove back to Portland. I called Dana. I told her everything. She was quiet. Then, this is sophisticated. Not illegal on its face. but the structure is weak. The oversight is non-existent. The family compensation is excessive, and they're using your name without your permission. I hired an investigator, Naomi Hale, former journalist, now private investigator. I gave him the foundation documents. I gave him my family's financial history. I gave him permission to find everything. He called me in 3 days. Your parents are under pressure, he said. The house has been refinanced twice. Your father's position is ending. They have private debt. This foundation is a life raft. They want to fill it with your money. I was not surprised. I was prepared. I asked Victor to keep digging. I wanted to understand the full architecture, the vendors, the relationships, the history. I wanted to know why I had been sent away at 7, why Camille had been kept, why I had been called worthless. I wanted the truth. Victor found the photograph in 2 weeks. In Iris's house, actually. She had kept it hidden. A picture of my mother in her 20s, standing close to a man who was not my father. He was identified as Adrian Vale, an architectural photographer, financially unstable, magnetic, involved with my mother before her marriage. There were rumors. Nothing proven. Nothing public. Just enough smoke to make Iris suspicious. Victor also found something else. A letter from Iris, dated 2022. The year before she died. If they come back, she wrote, do not trust sudden kindness from family members who spent decades proving you meant nothing to them. Start with the truth. She had left me a business card. A private investigator. She had known. She had prepared. She had protected me even from beyond her death. I wept when I read her letter. Then I dried my eyes. Then I made a decision. I would not confront them yet. I would let them believe I was considering their proposal. I would gather evidence. I would build a case. I would expose them completely. This was not revenge. This was correction. This was justice for the girl who was sent away. For the graduate who was called worthless. For the woman who built everything alone. I played their game for 2 months. I asked questions. I requested documentation. I expressed interest. I delayed decisions. My mother became frustrated. Her texts grew sharper. Why are you making this difficult? She asked. Difficult. The word made me laugh. I was making their scheme transparent. That was what she found difficult. I traced the vendors. One was a marketing agency with no substantive portfolio. An address that led to shared office space used by shell entities. Another was a consulting firm tied to my mother's friend. No track record. Inflated fees. Camille's compensation was $180,000 annually. For a foundation that had not yet helped anyone. I documented everything. I recorded calls where legal. I saved emails. I built a file that Dana described as sufficient to support criminal referral. Then the article hit. A small industry publication. It framed me as brilliant but volatile. It implied I was obsessive over inheritance matters. It suggested my judgment was compromised by resentment. My mother was building a backup story. If I refused, she would destroy my reputation. She would paint me as bitter, as unstable, as the difficult daughter. The article cost me. 2 consulting conversations went cold. A healthcare system postponed contract finalization. Another client reduced my involvement. The direct financial loss crossed $2 million in projected work. I was angry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to Boston and throw evidence in their faces. But Dana stopped me. They're hoping you become reckless, she said. They're hoping you confirm their narrative. Don't. Be colder. Be smarter. Be patient. I was patient. I was also strategic. I requested a second meeting. At their house. On the terrace. I arrived with a folder. Not the foundation proposal. My own documents. Vendor analyses. Financial tracing. Reputation damage assessment. I sat across from them. My mother smiled. My father was neutral. Camille was performatively warm. I've reviewed the foundation materials, I said. I have concerns. I laid out the vendor issues. The compensation structure. The lack of oversight. The pre-launch spending. My mother's smile tightened. Naomi, you're overthinking this. This is family. Family, I said, does not use my name without permission. Family does not destroy my reputation because I ask questions. Family does not call my graduation worthless and then ask for $300,000. The room went quiet. My mother's face changed. Not guilt. Calculation. We don't know what you're talking about, she said. The article. The reputation damage. The fabricated narrative. I pulled out my phone. I showed her screenshots, emails, timing correlations. I have proof, I said. I have documentation. I have a file that could support criminal referral for fraud and defamation. My father stood. This is insane. We're your family. You were never my family, I said. You sent me away at 7. You missed my graduation. You called me worthless. You ignored me for 25 years. And now you want my money. You want my name. You want to use my grandmother's memory as bait. I stood. I buttoned my jacket. I am not the girl you sent away. I am not the graduate you ignored. I am a woman who built a company, sold it for more than you've ever touched, and learned to document everything. You picked the wrong person to underestimate. I walked out. I did not look back. I drove to Portland. I called Dana. File everything, I said. Not part. Everything. The legal process took 8 months. Dana filed civil claims. Fraud. Defamation. Financial harm. Reputation damage. The foundation was investigated. The vendors were exposed. The compensation structure was deemed excessive and improperly authorized. My mother's consulting stipend was clawed back. Camille's salary was frozen. The foundation was dissolved. But that was not the end. Victor had continued investigating. He found the reason I was sent away. The simple question I asked at age 7. Why do I look like Dad, but Camille doesn't look like either of you? My mother had panicked. She had packed my suitcase. She had sent me to Iris. Not because I was difficult. Because I was observant. Because I was proof of something she wanted hidden. I arranged DNA testing. Private. Legal. Chain of custody. My father was my biological father. Camille was not. She matched Adrian Vale, the photographer. My mother's hidden past. The sister I had envied was the product of the lie that destroyed my childhood. I had been sent away because I saw too clearly. Because I asked the wrong question at the wrong time. I did not expose Camille. That was her truth to discover. Or not. I focused on my parents. On their fraud. On their defamation. On their attempt to use me after decades of neglect. The trial was in Boston. Civil court. Public record. Dana presented the foundation fraud. The vendor relationships. The personal enrichment. The reputation damage. The fabricated narrative. The judge found for me. Awarded damages. $1.8 million. Plus legal fees. Plus public acknowledgement of the defamation. My mother was referred for criminal review. False reporting. Fraudulent submission of evidence. She took a plea. 5 years. My father retired early. His board forced him out before the scandal could spread. The house was sold. The polished life was dismantled. I watched from Portland. I did not celebrate. I did not grieve. I felt completion. The circle was closed. The girl who was sent away had become the woman who held them accountable. Not through anger. Through documentation. Through patience. Through the skills I had built while they were ignoring me. Iris's house became my foundation. Literally. I converted it into the Iris Hale Center. For overlooked students. For fractured families. For children who were sent away. For graduates who were called worthless. I structured it properly. Independent board. Transparent governance. Outside auditing. No family appointments. No vanity salaries. No imuuschen el menepielaschen. We funded scholarships. Full rides. Plus mental health support. Because education changes futures. Healing changes the people who live inside them. I hired staff. I built programs. I attended every graduation. I cried at every ceremony. I was present for children who had never had presents. I was visible for teenagers who had been made invisible. This was not revenge. This was transformation. This was taking the pain they gave me and turning it into shelter for others. The first class graduated in 2026. 12 students. All from fractured homes. All overlooked. All brilliant. All worthy. I stood in the front row. I clapped like they were performing at Carnegie Hall. Just as Iris had clapped for me. Camille contacted me in 2027. Not through lawyers. Directly. A letter. Handwritten. I know now, she wrote. About Adrian. About why you were sent away. About what they did to both of us. I was the favorite. I was also the lie. I performed perfection while you built truth. I am sorry. Not for your forgiveness. For my own understanding. I did not reply immediately. I thought about her. About the sister I had envied. About the childhood I thought she had stolen. About the reality that she was also a victim. Also manipulated. Also built from dishonesty. I wrote back. Briefly. I accept your understanding. I do not need your apology. Build your own truth. As I built mine. She moved to Portland. Not to be close to me. To be far from Boston. From the memory. From the performance. She changed her name. Camille Valli. She started over. We met occasionally. Coffee. Walks. Cautious conversation. We were not close. We were not estranged. We were two women rebuilding from the same wreckage. That was enough. That was more than I expected. My mother was released in 2030. Early. Good behavior. She contacted me once. A letter through her attorney. She wanted to meet. To explain. To heal. I declined. Not from anger. From completion. I had heard enough. I had seen enough. I had documented enough. Her explanation would not change my graduation. Would not erase the card with the $20 bill. Would not restore the years she took. I wished her well. I wished her distant. I wished her someone else's concern. My father died in 2029. Alone. In a smaller house. His reputation stripped. His family scattered. I attended the funeral. Briefly. I stood in the back. I did not speak. I did not need to. My presence was the statement. The daughter he ignored was the daughter who outlasted him. That was the only victory I needed. Iris would have understood. She would have said, be present. Be brief. Be free. I was free. Finally. Completely. The mirror with the card was gone. The card was in a file. Evidence of what I survived. Not what defined me. I want to tell you what this experience taught me, because I did not spend 4 years building a company, 8 months in legal battle, and a lifetime recovering from family betrayal just to have a story. I did it because worth is not determined by parental approval. Because success is not validated by family attendance. Because the people who send you away do not get to claim you when you become useful. Families like mine teach children to earn love. To perform for attention. To believe that absence is deserved. This is abuse. Not physical. Emotional. Systematic. Designed to make the child believe they are the problem. I was not the problem. I was the witness. The proof of something they wanted hidden. The inconvenient reminder of their dishonesty. My worth was never in question. Their ability to see it was. I built my company not to prove them wrong. I built it to prove myself right. To demonstrate that I could create value without their approval. To show that worth is intrinsic, not awarded. The most important lesson was about documentation. About patience. About the power of evidence over emotion. When I confronted my family, I did not scream. I did not cry. I presented documents. Vendor analyses. Financial tracing. Reputation assessment. I let the facts speak. I let their own words condemn them. This was not cruelty. This was accountability. The difference between revenge and justice is that justice requires proof. Revenge requires only anger. Il chose justice. I chose the long path. The difficult path. The path that took 8 months instead of 8 minutes. But the path that was undeniable. Irreversible. complete. Dana taught me this. Let them underestimate you, she said. Let them believe you're emotional. Let them perform their narrative. Then introduce evidence. Evidence doesn't perform. It simply exists. And existence is enough to destroy performance. I also learned about chosen family. About the people who show up without being asked. Dana, who defended me without knowing me. Victor, who investigated without judging me. The staff at the Iris Hale Center, who believed in the mission without needing personal connection. The students, who taught me that healing is not linear. That progress includes regression. That worth must be rebuilt daily, not assumed once. Iris was my first chosen family. She chose me when my parents sent me away. She chose me every day for 25 years. I choose others now. I choose to be present. To be consistent. To be the person Iris was for me. This is the legacy. Not the company. Not the lawsuit. Not the damages. The choice to be family for people who have none. To be visible for people who have been made invisible. To be worthy of the love Iris gave me by giving it forward. Camille and I developed a relationship. Not sisterhood exactly. Something new. Something built from shared understanding rather than shared history. We talked about our childhoods. Hers performing perfection. Mine building solitude. Both surviving dishonesty. She became a teacher. Elementary school. In Portland. She wanted to help children before they learned to perform. Before they learned that love was conditional. I supported her. Financially. Emotionally. Not because I forgave everything. Because I understood that forgiveness is not required for compassion. I could help her without approving of what she represented. I could be present without forgetting. This was the balance I learned. The integration of truth and mercy. Of memory and forward movement. Of justice and peace. I was not healed completely. I still flinched at certain words. Worthless. Difficult. Disappointing. But I flinched less. I recovered faster. I knew the words were not true. I knew they were performance. And performance no longer controlled me. The Iris Hale Center grew. By 2032, we had funded 200 students. Graduation rate, 94%. Employment rate, 87%. Mental health improvement, documented, significant, sustained. I spoke at conferences. I wrote articles. I told my story, with names changed, with details generalized, with truth intact. I told it because silence protects abusers. Because documentation protects victims. Because stories find people who need them. I received letters. From children sent away. From graduates ignored. From adults still trying to prove their worth to parents who would never see it. I wrote back. Everyone. Your worth is not determined by their approval. Your success is not validated by their attendance. Your family is the people who choose you, not the people who are assigned to you. These were not just words. They were the architecture of my survival. The foundation of my rebuilding. The truth that took 32 years to fully claim. I am 36 now. The center is thriving. Camille is teaching. My mother lives in Florida. We do not speak. I am okay with this. I have learned that family is not a biological mandate. It is a behavioral choice. My parents chose to send me away. They chose to miss my graduation. They chose to call me worthless. They chose to ask for money. They chose to destroy my reputation when I refused. These were choices. Not accidents. Not misunderstandings. Choices. I choose differently. I choose presence. I choose consistency. I choose honesty. I choose the students who need support. The staff who need respect. The friends who need loyalty. This is my family. Built, not assigned. Earned, not inherited. True, not performative. I am grateful for the pain. Not because it was good. Because it taught me what good actually looks like. It taught me to recognize authenticity. To value presence over promises. To build shelter from storm. I think about Iris daily. Her peppermint smell. Her pancake animals. Her front row seat at every ceremony. Her tears. Her pride. Her warning letter. Her preparation. Her protection from beyond death. She was not perfect. She was stubborn. She believed in rules. But she loved me completely. Without measurement. Without condition. Without performance. This is the standard. This is what family should be. What I strive to be. For the students. For Camille. For myself. I keep her letter framed. Not the warning. The other one. Found in the same cedar chest. You are my heart, she wrote. You always were. You always will be. Build something they cannot take. Be someone they cannot diminish. Love yourself as I love you. Completely. Forever. I read this every morning. I build from it. I live from it. I am from it. My name is Naomi Hale. I am 36 years old. I am the founder of the Iris Hale Center. I am a daughter who was sent away. A graduate who was called worthless. A founder who was underestimated. A woman who chose justice over revenge. Documentation over emotion. Truth over performance. I built a company. I sold it. I survived my family. I exposed their fraud. I created shelter for others. I rebuilt relationship with my sister. I released my mother. I outlasted my father. I am present. I am visible. I am worthy. Not because they finally see it. Because I finally believe it. If this story meant something to you, leave a 2 in the comments so I know you stayed with me through the whole thing. And if you know someone who needs to hear it, share it with them. Some messages find the people who need them.